How many times have you wondered in your own mind and tried to find out what exactly is your goal in general, not just stock market? Well, about stock market, now it's time to ask yourself, what exactly are you seeking in stock market? Are you seeking just some thrills, or are you actually seeking to make wealth? If you are looking for thrills in the stock market, this two-part video is not for you. Hey guys, my name is Arjit and welcome to another session with Quantgnosis Diary. In this video, we are going to discuss trading psychology that you need to build in order to remain consistent in the long run. Few people take years and some people lose a truckload of money to realize that the problem mostly we have in our trading is inside our mind. But this video will explain how you can skip that big loss of the beginning phase of your trading career in the stock market and still gain experience as well as be profitable sustainably. In this first part video, we'll explore our mind and find out where exactly the problem is. In the next part video of trading psychology, we are going to find an objective way to handle our psychological issues. Please hit the like button, subscribe, or refer a friend to subscribe, or leave some comments. So we'll start with understanding our minds. So what is psychology in general? Psychology is the science of the brain, the mind, emotion, conscious and unconscious behavior, as well as feelings and thoughts. So all of this comes under the branch of science called psychology. From our childhood itself, so many times we have learned, son, don't do that. We have been denied many things from the childhood, and also some of the things we have grown up in the environment of restrictions, and sometimes we have grown up in an environment where we have been rejected from the things we actually want to do freely from our mind. So how we have grown up and how our environment was while growing up until today, it slowly shapes up our mind. The idea of pursuing that success of our society and the neighbors, and we all have gone through the pressure to win and be successful. So in our mind, failure was never an option, and we started being scared of failure. So this set of environment and the mind, how we have grown up, this ultimately shapes up how we think today. And we don't want to lose anything because we are scared of failure. The problem with how we have grown up and our mentality shapes up, it usually works for most of the jobs or most of the work that we do other than trading. But unfortunately, in trading, you will need a certain unique set of psychological trait in order to be persistent and successful over the time. So since we understood how our mind grown up with different restrictions, so one of our mental default setting is we do not want to be rejected, we do not want to accept a failure, we don't want to accept a loss. Also, we think that following the rules is against our natural mentality to seek freedom. So we try to avoid if it involves some sort of discipline or it involves some sort of rules. Now, this is much more of a generic concept and look at our mind. Now, let's look into that. What happens? How do we connect that general issues to our trading psychological issues? So like I mentioned, trading requires a mindset that is different from our natural habits and our natural mindset that we have developed so far. And that natural mind first issue is fear of loss. So first problem is fear of loss. In general, not just trading, even when there is no reason to have fear, but we still are afraid to losing anything. Even maybe that's a one pain that you have bought, you don't want to lose that. So that's our default setting. How do we counter fear in general? How do we tackle the problem of fear in general? We counter the fear with confidence. So whenever we are doing anything in our life, not just trading, every time we have confidence, our fear seems to be fade away. And when do we have confidence? When we are right, when we get a win, be it trading or be it life. When you either winning something or getting something out of your effort, that's when you feel you are confident that you are doing something right. And that confidence helps you to tackle your fear. So the confidence versus fear is one of the important point that we need to remember. Now, how does this have to do with trading? So in trading, we know that the stock market itself is risky, and then there's an inherent risk involved whenever we are doing something in the stock market. But when you actually do that buy or sell order, do you really accept that risk? Are you mentally prepared that your whatever trade you are doing, it can go into loss, and if it's X amount of loss, I can accept that loss and go out? So when you prepare before entering a trade, and you know that could turn into loss at that before entering itself, and you are able to still go through that trade, you accept that the risk involved in that trade. And if it goes into loss, you either get out of the trade or cut the trade position. You basically have way to manage your risk. So when you have a way to manage your risk, actually when you know there is a in a trade you are doing a stop loss, that's where you know that you have accepted the risk of your trade, because you know that you can be wrong, and hence if there is a loss, I can accept that loss and get out of the trade at certain amount of loss. So the fear of loss is countered with confidence and knowledge and the acceptance of that risk involved, and then you can tackle that fear psychologically. Problem is bias. So bias is one of our problem, that every time we want something, we want to think that everything need to work for our favor. So let's say you want to go outside and you want the day to be not too rainy, or so that you can't go out. So you want the environment to work in favor of you, but the environment does not work because of what you want. Similarly, it can be applicable in stock market as well. Maybe you have bought a stock and you want the stock to go up, but the stock or the market does not work for your wishes, that how you want it to be. And so you develop a bias. How to identify that you have a bias? If you see in somewhere that the stock you bought or security you bought, somebody has a negative or opposite view of yours, and then you feel angry, you feel frustrated after listening or reading that opposite opinion of your trade decisions. So if you feel that way, then you understand that you have a bias. If you feel angry, if you feel frustrated because somebody posted a opposite view to what you think that it should happen in order for you to make profit. Now, how to handle bias? You need to accept that possibilities. Like I said, for the weather, you don't know what's going to happen, whether it's going to be sunny or whether it's going to rain. Whenever you enter a trade, the trade can go against you or can go in favor of you, and you need to accept there is both possibilities are there at any point of time whenever you are doing trade. Issues, regrets. So we don't identify this as issue as we identify the risk or fear or the bias as much as the regrets. Why? Because it feels much more common and very simple in our mind. So basically, I might be thinking whenever I have booked a profit, let's say I booked a stock with 10% profit and the stock ran 20% or 30% or 40%, then I think that I could have made a bigger profits in that trade. Or there was an opportunity in front of me based on my analysis, and then I could not take that trade, and I feel like I missed on that trade even though I was right on that trade. Did you feel that way many times? If you feel that way frequently, and if you feel like I should have held that positions for bigger gain, or you feel like you could have entered into that trade, that means in your mind you are having regrets about your trading decisions. Like I said, from our childhood we have been grown up in such a way that we cannot accept mistakes. We don't do self-forgiveness. And we hold to regrets. That's why. We need to accept that there are many possibilities, and hence whatever the trading decisions we make, it may be correct or it could be mistake at any point of time. And if we make mistake, we just need to move on to the next trade, to on the next opportunity. You don't need to have a perfect trading sequence. You can make mistake in one trade, you can have a perfect trade, you may not have so much perfect trade multiple times, but despite that you can still be able to in profit if you get rid of your regrets and move on to the next trade without any bias or fear of loss. Pain. The concept of pain in our life is related to our body and our mind at the same time. So pain is a defensive mechanism in our body or mind to stop the action that is causing the pain. So if you are feeling a physical pain, you try to heal that and stop whatever it is that causing you physical pain. But whenever your mind is in pain, you try to get away from it or try to do something else, distract your mind to do something else. So our mind is designed in a way that it wants to get away from the pain. It don't want to face the pain. In trading, mental pain appears when you lose money, or sometimes you make a wrong trading decisions despite no losing of money. This can be followed by couple of bad things. So whenever you feel like you made a loss, and it activates a defensive mechanism in your mind to be away from the pain of loss or the wrong decisions you made, in that defensive mechanism can trigger an over optimism where you want to take a revenge. You think of the market as enemy and you want to take a revenge by earning more than what you lost, and so you take random decisions and big positions trade, and then that might result in a not so good result. Or it could, the defense mechanism of your pain may trigger an unreasonable amount of fear where that makes you hesitate on the next trade. What if I am wrong again? So you become fearful because of the response from the pain that your mind is feeling. So how to get away of that pain? So you will need to accept that the pain in your life as well as trading will be there, because there will be mistakes, and then you probably that will cause you some loss, and that might cause you some sadness, and that is perfectly natural. If you are feeling sad, it is okay to feel sad. If you are feeling disappointed or hurt because of that loss, accept it as a natural occurrence. Then simply move on to the next day, next opportunity without thinking about what you did in the previous trade that much. Acceptance of missing out. So one of the point I mentioned about regrets, that you feel like sometimes you could have hold on to that trade or you did not enter that trade. The regrets came from it. You need to accept that there are billions or millions of opportunity in stock market, it being made day after day, and there is no less of any opportunity in the next day. And sometimes you cannot capture all of those opportunity no matter what you do. If you are booking a loss early and that trade reversed back and went to the profit, you might feel sad, but you need to move on. That is also possibility. Every time you do that, that if you book a loss, stop loss hit and you booked it, and then it's possibility that same trade can go and in your favor after you exited with your stop loss, and that is part of the possibilities, and you need to accept that this is natural occurrence when you are doing trading, and this is normal to happen. Think about it. Trading is a big ocean and you are trying to catch some fish to make profit. You catch a lot of fish some days and you don't catch that many fish other days, but the ocean will still have enough fish for you to catch next day if you survive. Now once you have to accept missing out, habits. So habits, what are habits? Once we repeat an action again and again, it becomes a habit, good or bad. It becomes part of our daily routine and part of our life. Now in trading, we can build certain habits knowingly or unknowingly. And if we follow the habits for too long, it becomes difficult to change. If it's a bad habit, and if you can recognize it early and work towards correcting it, you will be able to more in control of your trade. So you need to accept the risk, you need to accept possibilities, you need to accept the pain is natural, and you need to accept that you may miss out sometimes. And all of these you need to embed inside the habits day to day, whatever actions you are doing in the stock market, in your trading. You need to embed all of this acceptance into the habit. Now let's look back into your first few trade ever you did on stock market or any of the market. When you started trading, you had a natural neutral mind. You knew there was risk, you are not sure about anything what's going to happen, but you are hopeful and positive that you might be able to make money despite whatever going to happen. That state of your mind at the initial was the right state of a trader mind. You did not know that many analysis back then, but what psychology you had at the beginning of your trading career is the trading state of mind that you are trying to achieve. So how did your first trade shape up your psychology later on? Let's say your first few trade was very successful and you may have grown very confident because you are very successful, maybe little more than confident, and eventually started taking bigger risk and desperately overconfident positions which may have ended badly. So your success at the initial may have ended in the failure. Or if you had a failure at the beginning of your trading career, you had a taste of what is called fear and hesitations. Because you are wrong, you felt that what if next trade also I am wrong. But at the same time, despite whatever the beginning of the success or the failure happened, there is partial positivity in either of this, and that you need to have in order to have the perfect trading psychology is part of lies inside the success story and the failure story. When you succeeded, you were confident. You did not feel that fear. So that confidence from your success is what you need to in order to remain successful. But when you failed, you are cautious and careful at time to time. So you also need to be cautious and careful at the same time. You need to have a perfect balance between, well, not so perfect, you don't need to have a perfect balance, but a balance should exist between your confidence and being cautious and careful. So that is what you want to have a consistent success. Now, so far we have talked more of a subjective perspective of our mind and how do our mind works in different situation to situations. But next we are going to focus being objective and set certain exactly what we need to do to achieve or overcome all of these problems that we discussed before, and how do we balance our psychology to find that state of our mind where we can say that we have reached the trader's psychology. Now, all the psychological issues that we have discussed, it's in our own mind, right? Which means we can fix most of it with our own efforts. So we need to understand that success and failure is part of the game, and both can happen at any point of time, and that is perfectly fine. Secondly, no matter how good we are, we will make mistake time to time, and we need to accept that mistakes and move on to the next state. So we have many emotions and psychological blocks in our mind that were built up in us so that we seek more freedom from without following rules. Because you are grown up inside strict environment, you would want to have more freedom. But in trading, we'll need, in order to have consistency, we will need to be consistent first. So we'll need to follow certain rules and have our self-discipline. Now the fourth is belief versus habits. In order to go in the right directions, in order to have the right set of habits in our practice of our each day trading, we'll need to first believe that is truth. So only when we believe what is true, then only you will be able to take actions and build habits which are consistent and disciplined. So we'll talk more about objectively with exact things what you need to do on the next part. But for now, start thinking which one of these is your problem, and based on that problem, how on the next video we'll see how we can tackle those problems and be consistent ourselves and build a self-disciplined and consistent habits in order to do the right thing. Think and start changing your beliefs. So this is the end of the part 1 video, and the next part will show, like I mentioned, more objectively how to tackle the psychological problems.